Imagine this. The lights of Detroit flicker like ghosts from the past. The streets whispering the names of two legends who built an empire nobody thought would last. Eminem and 50 Cent, two titans of hip-hop. Two brothers bound by loyalty, fame, and $1 million legacy. But what if that empire wasn't built on music alone? What if behind every hit record, every business move, every public laugh, there was a darker secret? One that could tear their bond apart forever? Rumors are swirling that something explosive happened behind the scenes, a betrayal so deep that even those closest to them couldn't believe it. Whispers from inside. Shady records say the tension's been building for years. Secret deals, silent feuds, and money moves that never made the headlines. Fans thought they knew everything about their brotherhood, but news sources claim 50's loyalty came with conditions. And M's trust? It may have finally snapped. From Detroit basements to Hollywood boardrooms, this story has everything: power, money, ego, and the ultimate question. How far will two legends go to protect their empire? Or destroy it from within? Stay tuned, because what's coming next will shock the entire hip-hop world. It all began in the cold, gray heartbeat of Detroit, a city built on broken dreams, survival, and second chances. Back then, Eminem wasn't just a rapper. He was a storm in human form, fighting demons the world couldn't see. He had climbed out of 8 Mile with scars deeper than lyrics could ever reveal. But what nobody knew was that behind the scenes, he was already searching for someone who could match his fire. Someone raw, fearless, unfiltered. That's when Curtis 50 Cent Jackson entered the frame, straight out of South Jamaica, Queens. A man who had been shot 9 times and still walked with that unshakable smirk. The industry had counted him out, but destiny had other plans. When Eminem first heard Wanksta, it wasn't just a hit. It was like hearing his own story told through another man's pain. He called Dr. Dre that night, and the conversation reportedly went like this: Eminem, "Yo, Dre, this dude 50 he's me in a different body." Dr. Dre, "You sure about that?" Eminem, "Nah, man, I feel it. He's hungry, just like we were." The next thing the world knew, Shady Aftermath signed 50 Cent, and in a matter of months, hip-hop changed forever. Get Rich or Die Tryin' wasn't just an album. It was a movement, a statement that loyalty, hustle, and pain could build empires. Eminem stood by 50 like a general guarding his soldier, and the fans? They worshipped it. They saw a brotherhood that felt unbreakable. But inside those $1 million studios, behind platinum plaques and champagne toasts, the cracks had already started to show. People close to the camp whispered that their partnership was more strategic than emotional. Some even claimed Eminem saw 50 as a shield, someone who could handle the streets, while M stayed behind the boardroom doors. Still, the two built something no one else in the game could touch. Together, they crushed rivals, dominated charts, and created a legacy that made Shady Records and G-Unit the blueprint for every upcoming artist. But power doesn't come without pressure. The more successful they got, the more people wanted in. And that's when the rumors started. Whispers about money missing, contracts rewritten, and loyalty questioned. A former Shady intern, who now works anonymously under the name T, recalled one moment that changed everything. T, "I remember one night after a recording session, things got tense, M was pacing, quiet, you could feel something was off. 50 walked in, slammed the door, and they just stared at each other for a minute. No words, just energy. Then M said, 'You changed, bro.' And 50 snapped back, 'Nah, I just learned the game you taught me.' After that, the vibe was never the same. Still, both men played their roles publicly, smiling for interviews, hyping each other on stage, acting like nothing was wrong. But fans began to notice something. Fewer joint appearances, fewer shoutouts. Their connection, once unshakable, started to look like a brand more than a brotherhood. Then came the deal that shifted everything, a major streaming company approached 50 for an exclusive documentary, a tell-all about his rise and his time under Shady. Insiders say Eminem didn't like the idea one bit. It wasn't about money, it was about control. 50 had always been outspoken, unfiltered, unpredictable. M feared he'd reveal too much, things that could change how fans saw both of them. When word leaked that 50 had accepted the deal anyway, Eminem reportedly went silent for weeks. Dre tried to mediate, but M wasn't talking. One of his close associates told Rap Daily M felt betrayed. Like, out of everyone, 50 was the one dude he could trust not to turn their story into a circus. But 50 saw it as his moment, his legacy. He wasn't trying to expose M, but he wasn't about to be silenced either. It was the beginning of what fans now call the Quiet War. No diss tracks. No public fallout, just cold silence between two of hip-hop's most powerful allies. Yet, despite the tension, both men kept building. Business, brands, ventures, movies. The world saw success. Behind the scenes, they were building separate kingdoms under the same empire. Eminem poured his energy into mentoring younger artists, while 50 chased Hollywood money, turning into a TV mogul. But here's where things took a darker turn. In late 2023, leaked audio surfaced online, a private call between two voices that fans claimed were Eminem and 50 Cent. Eminem and 50 Cent. The clip was barely 2 minutes long, but the tension was palpable. Voice 1, allegedly Eminem. "You sold out the family, bro." Voice 2, allegedly 50. "Family don't pay my bills, Marshall. Power does." Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Fans were divided. Some said it was fake AI-generated audio. Others swore it was real. But one thing was clear. Something was definitely wrong behind the curtain. In an ironic twist, both rappers stayed silent. No denials, no statements, just cryptic posts. Eminem uploaded a black and white photo of a chessboard with the caption "Checkmate," while 50 posted a clip of his TV show Power with the words, "Sometimes you gotta kill a king to become one." And that's when fans knew the brotherhood was over. Still, something didn't add up. Why now? Why, after 2 decades of loyalty and empire building, would everything fall apart? Some insiders whispered that there was another player behind the scenes, someone manipulating both sides, feeding off their egos, pushing them apart for profit. But who? As more details began to surface, secret meetings, deleted contracts, hidden royalties, the truth behind the Eminem x 50 Cent empire started to unravel piece by piece. And what's coming next might just change how fans see hip-hop's most powerful partnership. Forever. The fallout didn't happen overnight. It was quiet at first, the kind of silence that feels heavier than words. The industry pretended everything was fine, but insiders knew something dark was brewing. You could feel it. After the leaked audio incident, sources say Eminem called for a private meeting. Just him, 50, and Dr. Dre. It took place in a hidden studio outside Los Angeles. No cameras. No entourage, just the 3 men who built the empire. The meeting reportedly lasted 6 hours. And according to someone close to Dre, it was ugly. "Dre, let's talk business. Whatever this is, we fix it." 50, "Business? That's all it ever is with y'all." Eminem, "Don't do that, Fif. Don't act like I didn't put you on." 50, "Put me on? Nah, you needed me. I made Shady relevant again." Those words hit like a grenade. M stood up, furious, pacing the floor. Dre tried to calm them down, but it was too late. The years of unspoken tension had finally erupted. According to the source, 50 accused Eminem of freezing him out of certain business deals, especially one connected to Shady Films, a joint venture that mysteriously went inactive around 2022. M fired back, claiming 50 had been using their brand name to negotiate his own side deals. The argument spiraled from business into betrayal. Eminem, "You forgot who believed in you when nobody else would." 50, "And you forgot I'm not one of your artists, I'm your equal." When Dre left the room that night, he told someone close to him, that wasn't business. That was 2 brothers breaking up. But what fans didn't see was how deep the betrayal went. Documents later surfaced online, leaked by an anonymous account called Shady Leaks, showing internal transfers between shadyrecords and G-Unit Holdings. The numbers didn't match. Millions of dollars had reportedly disappeared in what was labeled as consulting fees. Fans started to speculate, was someone embezzling money from the empire? That's when the real paranoia set in. 50, always the strategist, hired a private financial team to audit every contract he'd ever signed with Shady Eminem. On the other hand, went quiet. Too quiet. He stopped attending label meetings and started spending more time in Detroit, reconnecting with old friends and family. People who knew him said he looked tired, not physically, but emotionally. A longtime friend of Proof's, known only as Tone, shared this with Candidly Cassie. Proof always told M that fame and family can't live in the same house. And that's what was happening. M wasn't losing money. He was losing people. The ones who built this whole thing with him were either gone or turning on him. While M retreated, 50 made his move. He started distancing himself publicly, doing interviews where he referred to shadyrecords as part of his past. Fans caught it immediately, the tone, the shade. One clip went viral where he said, "Some folks build walls, I build empires." It was subtle, but everyone knew who he was talking about. That's when M's inner circle, people like Roysta59 and Paul Rosenberg, stepped in. They advised him to protect the brand before things got out of hand. There were whispers that lawyers got involved. Confidential agreements? Non-disclosure clauses. It was turning into a war fought with silence and paperwork. But here's where it got darker. 2 months later, an unnamed engineer leaked a photo from inside the studio where the meeting had happened. On the wall, in black marker, were the words, "Trust no one." And below it, a half-erased signature that looked eerily like Eminem's. Fans went crazy. Conspiracy channels exploded overnight. Some claimed 50 had recorded the entire meeting as leverage. Others said M was planning to release a diss track that never saw the light of day. But the truth was even more twisted. A new track surfaced on the dark web, an unreleased song titled "Paper Kings." The voices were distorted, but the lyrics? They cut deep. "Built you from dust, gave you my flame, now you play me dirty, chasing the fame. We built an empire, now I'm cleaning the stain. I'm cleaning the stain." Fans speculated it was Eminem venting his anger, an emotional warning shot that never made it to streaming platforms. Some even claimed Dr. Dre himself shut it down to prevent a full-blown feud. Meanwhile, 50 kept doubling down on success. He launched new shows, inked new deals, and posted cryptic captions like, "Never bite the hand that doesn't feed you anymore." Every post felt like a jab. Every headline, a silent reminder that he was still winning. Inside the music world, alliances began to shift. Some rappers quietly picked sides. People who once called both men family were now avoiding interviews, dodging questions. It was like the industry had chosen to act like nothing was happening, even though everyone knew everything. But then came the twist nobody saw coming. Leaked court documents hinted that 50 Cent's team was negotiating a takeover bid, not for G-Unit, but for a portion of Shady Entertainment's publishing catalog. That's right, 50 was allegedly trying to buy out the very empire Eminem had built from the ground up. And the craziest part? He almost succeeded. The deal was reportedly halted just days before closing, when one of M's lawyers caught wind of it. Sources claim Eminem was furious beyond words. He reportedly called 50 directly, and the conversation, according to an insider, went like this. Eminem: "You really tried to buy my legacy behind my back? 50, business marshal. You taught me that. No hard feelings. Eminem: You crossed a line, man. You don't come back from that." After that call, there was no more pretending. The brotherhood was done. Eminem went underground again, deleting posts, cutting appearances, moving like a ghost. And then, out of nowhere, a photo of him and Dr. Dre appeared online. The caption read, "Some kings don't need crowns." The hip-hop world exploded. Fans flooded 50's comments with questions, memes, and accusations. Responded the only way he knows how, with laughter. He reposted a meme of himself holding a chess piece, writing, "It's still checkmate." Behind the jokes and headlines, though, insiders say both men were hurting. It wasn't just business anymore, it was betrayal. It was pride. And somewhere deep down, it was heartbreak. The kind that comes when someone you called brother turns into your biggest rival. But as fans would soon find out, that was only the beginning. Because while the world thought the empire had fallen, the truth was, someone else was pulling the strings all along. Just when the world thought the war between Eminem and 50 Cent had reached its peak, something strange began happening behind the scenes. Mysterious emails, hidden accounts, and secret meetings that hinted at a much bigger conspiracy. What if this fallout wasn't entirely their doing? What if someone, or something, had been orchestrating the chaos from the shadows? Whispers began spreading that there was a third hand in the empire. Someone who knew both Eminem and 50 Cent personally. Someone who had access to their contracts, private recordings, and even unreleased music vaults. Fans started connecting dots after an anonymous Twitter account, The Real Shady Truth, began dropping evidence. Screenshots, voice notes, even photos from inside shadyrecords' Detroit studio. The account seemed to know everything, including things no fan should know. One post read, "It's not 50 versus M, it's both of them being played by the same snake. Look closer at the people behind the label." The internet went wild. Some pointed fingers at former managers. Others accused rival rappers. But one name kept popping up: Paul Rosenberg, Eminem's longtime manager and the quiet architect behind Shady's business empire. Now Paul had always been loyal, or so everyone thought. But according to leaked memos shared by The Real Shady Truth, Paul had been in secret talks with investors looking to acquire partial control of Shady Entertainment. And guess who they had approached first? 50 Cent.A now deleted email allegedly showed Paul reaching out to 50's lawyer, offering him a private equity partnership in exchange for cooperation. The message ended with 3 haunting words: Marshall doesn't need to know. When that leak hit social media, the narrative flipped overnight. Fans who once blamed 50 started wondering if he had been manipulated all along. The idea that Paul Rosenberg, the man who helped Eminem build his legacy, was quietly trying to take control shook the entire hip-hop world. But it didn't stop there. An anonymous producer, he who once worked on early D12 records, spoke to District Trending under voice disguise. Paul was always business first. M's loyalty was emotional, but Paul's was financial. Once the label stopped pulling crazy numbers, he started looking for outside money. He thought he was saving the company, but he was really creating enemies. According to these insiders, Paul had been trying to merge shadyrecords with a major streaming conglomerate, one that wanted to rebrand Eminem's catalog for future AI music licensing. Reportedly refused. He didn't want his legacy turned into a digital algorithm. But when he said no, the deal didn't die. It just went underground. That's when 50's name got dragged back in. Emails allegedly revealed that 50 had been contacted by the same conglomerate weeks later. They offered him full creative control of the G-Unit X Shady Legacy project, a documentary series and catalog reissue, if he agreed to sign off without Eminem's consent. And the craziest part? 50 said yes. The plan was genius and sinister. If they could convince 50 to sell his half of the joint projects, the company could force Eminem into renegotiations. It would make him powerless in his own empire. But when the leaks went public, everything collapsed. 50 realized he'd been tricked into signing a deal that made him look like the villain. Furious, he called Paul directly. That phone call reportedly ended with 50 threatening to burn the whole thing down. 50, you used me, man. You played both sides. Paul, it's business, Curtis. Don't make it emotional. Don't make it emotional. 50, it was emotional. That's the problem. You forgot who you were dealing with. Days later, 50 wiped every mention of shadyrecords from his social media bios. Fans thought it was pettiness. They had no idea it was rebellion. Behind the scenes, Eminem finally saw the full scope of Paul's manipulation. One late night, a source close to M said he was found pacing the studio floor, replaying old voicemails from 50, moments when they were brothers, not enemies. Then, out of nowhere, he reportedly said, "They made us fight each other. We were too blind to see it." That's when the reunion rumors started. Dr. Dre, always the quiet strategist, reached out to both men privately. According to one insider, he told them, "You two built this empire together. Don't let outsiders tear it down." For weeks, neither responded. But then, 50 posted something cryptic. A photo of an empty studio chair with the caption, "Sometimes loyalty circles back." Hours later, Eminem posted an old photo of him and 50 laughing during the Get Rich or Die Trying tour. No caption, just the word history. Fans lost their minds. Could this mean reconciliation? Or was it just nostalgia? Behind the scenes, however, something bigger was happening. Both men reportedly discovered a financial trail leading to the hidden hand, an offshore account used to funnel money from Shady and G-Unit's joint ventures. The account was traced back to the same investors Paul had been talking to. In other words, the betrayal went beyond personal. It was systemic. The hip-hop world was unknowingly witnessing a corporate coup. Two brothers torn apart by greed, puppeteered by businessmen who saw their legacy as property. And here's where it gets chilling. A private investigator hired by 50 uncovered that someone had been leaking personal communications, emails, studio footage, even voice notes, directly to those investors. They weren't just trying to buy the empire. They were documenting its destruction to sell the story. When 50 confronted the investors, they denied everything. But days later, the Twitter account, The Real Shady Truth, vanished. Every post deleted. Every leak wiped. But one final tweet remained. The empire was never theirs to begin with. Nobody knows who ran that account. Some say it was an insider. Others believe it was part of a larger PR setup, a diversion to control public opinion before a massive lawsuit. Either way, the truth had done its damage. Eminem and 50 were finally talking again, but the trust was shattered. Both men reportedly agreed on one thing: the empire needed to be rebuilt. Not for fame, but for legacy. Still, fans couldn't help but wonder, had they really uncovered the whole story? Or was there still another layer of deception hidden beneath it all? Because if the leaks were true, and Paul Rosenberg wasn't the final mastermind, then someone even higher up had been playing the game. Someone who owned both the chessboard and the kings. The truth didn't come out in a press release. It came in silence, the kind that only happens before a storm. After months of speculation, deleted posts, and viral leaks, something unexpected began to shift in the hip-hop world. Eminem and 50 Cent had vanished from the public eye. No appearances. No interviews, not even cryptic tweets. The only trace? An unmarked black van seen outside an old Detroit warehouse, the same one where Eminem recorded his early mixtapes. Fans started piecing things together. Could this be where it all began? And maybe where it would all end? Inside that warehouse, according to an insider known only as K, a secret meeting was taking place. Eminem, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and a fourth man who had been hiding in plain sight the entire time. The real puppet master. That man was Steve Borden, a silent partner and industry power broker connected to multiple labels, including Shady's original distribution deals. Most fans had never heard his name, but insiders knew he was the kind of man who moved artists like chess pieces. When Dre discovered Borden's involvement, everything suddenly made sense. The manipulation, the leaks, the fake insider accounts, all traced back to one goal: ownership. Borden's company had been quietly acquiring controlling interests in music catalogs across the industry, and Eminem's empire was the crown jewel. He had orchestrated the chaos between M and 50, fueling their egos, feeding both sides misinformation, until the empire was weak enough for a takeover. When Eminem confronted him in that Detroit warehouse, it wasn't the fiery Slim Shady the world expected. It was Marshall Mathers, calm but cold. Eminem: "You played us like fools." Borden: "I didn't play you, Marshall. I invested in you." You both became too emotional for business. 50 Cent: "You made me turn on my brother for a check. That's what you call business?" Borden: "I call it survival. You two built an empire on loyalty. I built mine on leverage." The tension was unbearable. Dre reportedly stood between them, hands folded, eyes sharp. The air was thick with 20 years of pain, power, and pride. Dre: "So what now? You take their empire, walk away rich, and leave hip-hop burning?" Borden smirking: "The culture moves on. It always does." That's when Eminem stepped forward. He pulled out a flash drive, small, silver, and cold, and tossed it on the table. Eminem: "Everything you leaked, every fake receipt, every audio file, I've got proof it came from your network. The feds already have a copy." Borden's smile faded. The room went silent. For the first time, the puppet master looked afraid. What Borden didn't know was that 50 had flipped the game weeks earlier. After discovering the offshore accounts, he had quietly worked with M's team to trace every digital fingerprint. Together, they built a trap, a fake contract offer, designed to expose the man behind the manipulation. And it worked. 50 grinning: "You said it's about leverage, right? Well, we got ours." According to the insider K, Borden tried to negotiate his way out, offering to dissolve the contracts and disappear. But Dre had already made a call. Within hours, legal teams swooped in, freezing the accounts tied to the takeover. The empire, the one everyone thought was falling apart, was now untouchable. Still, the emotional scars ran deep. Eminem and 50 didn't speak much after that night. They didn't have to. The looks they exchanged said everything: regret, respect, and something even heavier: understanding. They had both been pawns in someone else's game. A week later, Eminem released a surprise freestyle online titled "The Rebuild." It wasn't on any platform. Just a black and white video of him in the booth, hoodie up, voice raw. They built a wall and called it loyalty, but cracks show when you test royalty. Tried to buy my brother. Price too low, you can't clone what the streets still know. Within minutes, it hit millions of views. Fans went insane. The lyrics were surgical, aimed not at 50, but at the system that tried to turn art into ownership. And then, out of nowhere, 50 posted a clip of himself in the gym working out with that classic smirk and one caption, "Real ones argue. Legends rebuild." That was it. No drama, no explanations. Just a truce. Behind the scenes, the two reportedly agreed to rebuild Shady G Unit from the ground up. Independent, no outside investors, no corporate middlemen, the empire would belong to them again. Dre, ever the architect, was said to be producing a joint project between the two. Not a diss, but a documentary-style album blending truth and fiction. Industry insiders described it as hip-hop's redemption arc, but the story didn't end with music. Weeks later, reports surfaced that Eminem and 50 had quietly donated a chunk of their settlement money to Detroit youth programs, the same streets that raised them both. One journalist wrote, "They started as brothers in survival. They ended as kings in legacy." Still, the internet wasn't satisfied. Some fans speculated the whole thing, the leaks, the drama, even the confrontation, had been an elaborate marketing plan for the new album. Others believed the story was too personal, too raw to be fake. Either way, one truth remained. The empire had survived. Months passed before either man spoke publicly again. But during an anniversary interview, when a reporter asked Eminem about his relationship with 50 Cent, he smiled faintly and said, "We never really fell off. We just forgot who was pulling the strings." And that was it, one sentence. Enough to send the internet into chaos again. Because whether it was real, fake, or somewhere in between, the myth of their fallout had turned into legend. In the end, the empire didn't collapse. It evolved, and maybe that's the real secret behind Eminem and 50 Cent's legacy. It was never just about music. It was about survival, loyalty, and the dangerous price of power. And that's where the story leaves us. Two legends, one empire, and 1,000 unanswered questions. Were Eminem and 50 Cent the victims of industry puppeteers? Or did pride and ego do what no rival ever could? Drive a wedge between brothers? Some fans swear the feud was real, others believe it was the most brilliant marketing play hip-hop has ever seen. Either way, one thing's certain: the legacy they built refuses to die. From Detroit's cracked sidewalks to the bright lights of Hollywood, their journey has become the blueprint for loyalty, betrayal, and redemption in hip-hop. They taught the world that even when money divides, respect can still rebuild. And now, with rumors of a secret joint project swirling again, the question isn't if they'll reunite, it's when. So what do you think really happened behind closed doors? Was the empire almost stolen by greed, or was the chaos all part of the plan? Drop your theories in the comments. We want to hear your take. Make sure you smash that like button if you've been rocking with Shady XG Unit since day one. Subscribe for more deep dive stories that expose the truth behind hip-hop's biggest legends. And turn on those notifications so you never miss the next drop. Because trust us, what's coming next might change everything you thought you knew about loyalty, legacy, and power in the rap game. This isn't just a story about Eminem and 50 Cent. It's a story about how empires fall, rebuild and rise again, and the next move? That's theirs. That's theirs.